Alright, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back here in PlayStation Source, and I still have some coverage to go over involving the PS5 showcase. Of course, y'all probably already saw the God of War Ragnarok trailer did debut this week on PS5 showcase. It was a great showing. I really liked what I saw. We're gonna roll the trailer just, without any commentary, just for you guys to see if you guys haven't seen it already. But before we get to that, we will talk about the general info that we know about this game right now, courtesy of the PlayStation blog and other different sources that we got as well, including the post interview as well at PS5 showcase. So before we get to all of that, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like on your video, as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation, as this is my side gig. I would love to make it my full-time gig. Y'all can help me with that. Like the video, helps the algorithm, comment below, all that great stuff. Subscribe as well if you want to stick around for the good stuff. And without further ado, here is the uncut God of War Ragnarok PS5 trailer that was debuted at PS5 showcase.
Time is running out. The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok. War is coming. My story doesn't end hiding in these woods. I should be out there, finding out who I am, who Loki is.
I will not allow you to pick a fight with gods.
I don't want to fight anyone. I just want answers.
And if those answers lead to war with Asgard,
Maybe that's what Mother wanted.
you do not know what Mother wanted.
Well, I'd recognize that dour expression anywhere. Odin's got tricks up his sleeve we haven't dared to consider.
What if there was someone who could help us?
You mean Tyr, the old god of war in these lands, who is dead?
Well, for a dead man, Odin seemed pretty keen on seeing he wasn't found.
If he's out there, we gotta find him.
Come in. What in all yarns be the happened to him?
We're trying to stop Ragnarok, to help people. And what if the only way to do that is war?
War is not the only way.
Stop thinking like a father for a moment and start thinking like a general.
No!
You seem like a calm and reasonable person. Are you a calm and reasonable person?
In moments of crisis, panic does nothing. Harness it. Let it serve you.
Tyr!
Are you coming with us?
You'll get your answer soon enough. Well, some of them. PlayStation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was the good stuff here. Now let's go over, of course, in spite of how great that game looks, let's go into the actual nitty-gritty and what we learned from this trailer, as well as some other stuff that we got from the blog and everything. So starting off here, this is, oh, by the way, before we get into anything, spoilers for God of War 2018. Thought that was gonna be pretty clear, but just in case, if you haven't played the original God of War 2018 game on PS4, go play that and then come back here, okay? So this is gonna be one of the cross-gen first-party games, PS4 and PS5. This is arguably going to be the last PS4, PS5 game as far as we're aware, because Horizon will have been out before Ragnarok, and GT7 is already dated for March 2nd, so it should be able to be out before Ragnarok. So Ragnarok should be the last time we'll get a PS4, PS5 game from first party, at least as far as we're aware. They are still targeting 2022, even though I was kind of concerned that they didn't say 2022 at the end of this trailer or even give a release date, but you know what, it is what it is. I'm gonna believe them on 2022. Seems like they could probably hit that, but we will see. Now this game does take place a few years after the first game. This probably lines up with the Thor end cutscene. After you finish God of War 2018, you would go back to your home and it will say years later before that flashback or flash forward happens where Thor pulls up on Atreus and Kratos, that crazy cutscene. So that seems to coincide with this game as well in terms of it's happening, you know, years after the first game. But what they did confirm in the post interview of the PS5 showcase was pretty interesting. So this game is confirmed to be ending the Norse era of God of War, at least. You know, they were very vague on it, and I do understand that, right? But they do say that, of course, hence the name of this game, the end of this game is going to end with Ragnarok. Ragnarok will happen, that's something they said, and it will mark the end of the Norse era for God of War. And so I do have kind of weird thoughts about it only being like 2 games in Norse era, but you know what, I'm sure they have a plan. I trust them. They said years back that they wanted to put so much into God of War 2018, but they couldn't fit it in all into that single game. And even with DLC as well, they just felt like the DLC was going to be so much bigger than what they could have ever imagined. So I feel like they do have a plan for this whole thing, and it's going to all make sense, I guess. But it is pretty interesting how they're only doing 2 games in this Norse era, which I do really like this era as well for God of War, but we'll see what the rest comes. That will be a future video in the future, because I got some ideas for that as well, and we probably already know what's going on in the future of God of War besides the Norse era. But going into more stuff as well, Eric Williams, who used to be, I believe, an art director at Sony Santa Monica, will be directing the game as opposed to Cory Barlog. There were a lot of people on Twitter being like, oh man, you know, Cory Barlog did God of War 2018, is Ragnarok going to live up to that game's quality because of a new director? I personally think so, because of 2 things. One, they said that they have a history of changing leadership with each God of War game. Besides Cory Barlog, Barlog has done multiple God of War games, but usually they do change leadership just to get a better feel for it, just to get a fresh, you know, overall vibe in the next God of War game. So I can respect that. But also, it seems like Cory Barlog is going to be leading up the unannounced new IP that they are making at Sony Santa Monica as well. And so it looks like that's what he'll be doing, by just, you know, Judgment and everything. That's just what I think. So I'm pretty cool with that too. You know, let Cory do something new, do something different, usher in a new game under Sony Santa Monica, a new IP. I am actually down with that. Now, with that all said and done, let's go into some facts we learned about God of War Ragnarok itself. Midgard is now frozen over due to Fimbulwinter, which you can see very clearly here in the trailer and everything. And even at the end of God of War 2018, there was a bit more snow in Midgard and everything, and it was starting to snow and just start to be cold and everything. So definitely Midgard is frozen now. Tension and conflict will continue with Kratos and Atreus, as Atreus wants to seek out his true heritage and what it means to be Loki, while Kratos fears that if they go down that path, they'll encounter more Aesir gods like Baldur and Thor, and he wants to protect his son from the bloodshed that he endured from other gods as well. As you guys very much well aware, Kratos and, you know, the Greek gods definitely did not get along for the most part, you know what I'm saying? For reasons that, hey, you know what, Kratos is pretty valid in that, you know what I'm saying? I think that Kratos had a point, but overall, you know, Kratos and gods don't really get along, and so he just doesn't want that same fate for Atreus. But Kratos also holds on to the prophecy that he saw at the end of God of War that also haunts him as well into this game, where that prophecy does seem to mean that, you know, at some point Atreus will have to kill Kratos, which, with the knowledge of that prophecy and everything, he just doesn't want to, you know, have Atreus and himself be in this conflict that is brewing within the 9 realms due to Ragnarok coming closer and closer. Now Freya is back in the fold, as she did vow at the end of God of War 2018. She did vow to Kratos that she will, quote, rain every agony, every violation imaginable upon Kratos, which is such a bar. I swear to God, like, yo, Freya is gonna be a threat. But Freya is not only a powerful user of the Vanir magic like in God of War 2018, she will also prove to be a skilled warrior as well. She'll also be one of the main villains in the game, along with, of course, Thor in God God of War Ragnarok, and it's really cool that Freya is now elevated to this really cool villain. I think she's such a great character, and it's gonna be really cool to see her fight Kratos, hopefully multiple times in this game. We will have to see. But speaking of Thor, Thor is also one of the big villains in God of War Ragnarok, as he wants revenge for the killing of course, his two sons Magni and Modi, along with his half-brother Balder. And of course, Freya is after Kratos because, as we all know, Kratos was the one that killed Balder in God of War 2018. So she's out here to seek vengeance for her, not being able to have her son right now. Now, in terms of returning characters in God of War Ragnarok, we do have the homies Brock, Sindri, and Mimir. These three dudes are the bangers. These are the homies. Shots to them. Love to see them back in the fold. But we also have new characters that I still have to dig and really get some more info on them. We have this character called Darlin and this Angerboda lady, which I am very intrigued by her. Very intrigued by Angerboda. Definitely want to know more about her. And the one that got me flipping out, we have the Norse God of War Tyr. Yes, the same Tyr that Atreus was teaching Kratos about during 2018, and we saw all of his different escapades throughout his life, how he traveled to different realms and lands and different mythos and learned about their cultures and everything. And he was such an interesting character in God of War 2018, but he was thought to be dead, and so now he's alive. We see him in the trailer. We will talk about that in a future video because that is so much more to break down than what I can do right now. Kratos and Atreus will also have this like sled type thing where we'll be able to have two wolves that will help us in traversal means and everything, and going across the frozen lake of Nine and everything. And the two wolves do have names. They are Specky and Savannah. I just hope that we can pet these little homies, you know what I'm saying? I know they look pretty ferocious, but if we could, pet them perhaps, that'd be kind of nice, you know what I'm saying? But they promise upgrades to combat in God of War Ragnarok. Not the biggest surprise there. We'll have upgrades to combat, new abilities, and new runes, as well as, of course, Kratos' iconic Leviathan axe and Blades of Chaos do make a return. I would not be that shocked if we have new weapons to use in the game, but we'll have to see when the full game comes out. They also said that they wanted combat to feel familiar yet fresh, and emphasize that you can have a lot of choice within combat in terms of relying on hard-hitting combos, mastery of the elements, or clever defense tactics as well. You can do a lot more in this game, as what they say here, as they want to emphasize, player choice within the combat instances in God of War Ragnarok. And Ragnarok will also take us to new locations as well, where we will face new enemies like this Stalker and this other enemy called the Dreki. The Dreki is like the big, like flying monster thing, and the Stalker is like this half human, half deer type of thing that's kind of like a minotaur but in a deer form. I'm not sure if that's a common thing in Norse mythos, then my bad, not too familiar with Norse as a whole. But speaking of the new locations, yes, in Ragnarok we will be able to travel to all 9 realms instead of the 6 in the original God of War 2018. So we will be getting access to Vanaheim, I'm going to butcher this name, Svartheim, and Asgard as well. And I believe we have seen these actually in the trailer. I believe Vanaheim is going to be that like more like traditional type of looking environment. How am I trying to say this? Like there's like a bunch of weird like vegetation in this region, which I think that's what Vanaheim is, and Svartheim is the Dark Elves realm and everything. So I think those flying elves that we fought in God of War 2018, and there's a lot of them prominently in some different locations that look similar in the trailer, I believe that's Svartheim in this game as well. And I don't think we saw Asgard in this trailer. Maybe we did, I don't know, but Asgard, I think they would probably wait for us to see it in its full glory in the game, because I bet that is going to look insane. So that is about all we know right now about God of War Ragnarok. I am very excited for it, guys. I can't wait to play this game, and I have a ton of videos in the pipeline, guys. Don't worry about it, okay? We're going to talk a little bit about Homegirl at the end of the trailer. I need to know about Angerboda. We need to talk about Tyr in a very extensive way. We need to talk about how Kratos is holding the pouch that Faye's ashes were in the beginning of the trailer. Like, we have so much to get into, guys. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like on the the video as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation and all things God of War Ragnarok. Down below, follow our Twitter, our Discord, and our Anchor link to listen to future episodes of Road to Podcast, including Road to Forbidden West coming up here pretty soon in the next few months, and Road to Ragnarok. We will definitely be doing that. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.